Hey, Landria back. Note to self, video cameras and water don't mix. Yeah, I took out my camera and the sound is probably really bad, but I got one being delivered right here shortly to fix that problem. You see, when you're online, you got a few little things you have to attend to, but beats going into an office. I want to talk to you today about something that is so prominent and people don't even recognize this because they're so busy trying to get their online businesses going and thinking about that. They don't understand what happens after they become successful. Now, as an investment banker, I saw this going on constantly, and it was the second phase of success that nobody expects. Well, the same thing happens with online businesses. And so let's be honest, the percentage of successful businesses online is a fraction of businesses that are traditional. Why? They don't have planning, they usually don't have funding, they don't have a staff, they don't really get an education, and so they go plowing out there thinking they're just going to make money, they don't have ownership. If you saw my free webinar, you know what the pillars are, the 5 reasons why people don't succeed online. Well, let's say you're part of the 10% that knock it out of the park, like myself. What happens after you hit success? Well, I've seen this happen over and over and over again, especially with my online colleagues. People that were making millions have gone bankrupt literally within weeks. How is that possible? Now, when you have a traditional business, things don't happen that quickly, right? You can pretty much say, well, okay, our sales are going down, our profits are going down, you get some help, you make some improvements, maybe you go get a loan from a bank. But online, things happen very quickly. I'm going to tell you exactly why that happens. First of all, people don't plan ahead. They don't have the business strategy. That's one of my 5 reasons businesses online don't succeed. They have no plan. What happens if not only do you hit your goals, but you exceed them? Well, people just start hiring more people, doing more ad spend, and maybe living a very high life. Maybe, oh, this is great, I'm going to go buy a big house or whatever it is, and it does happen quite frequently. Now, what happens when you have a down month? And by the way, online, one down month could be devastating. And why do I say that? So if you're doing, let's say, $500,000 a month, and maybe you're doing, maybe 400,000 of that, I'm going to be very generous, is profits. Yay! Okay, we're rocking and rolling. Well, what happens if all of a sudden that campaign that you're running, it just tanks? It's just not working anymore. And I'm going to tell you exactly why this happens. You're going to love this. It's going to make sense. And then it doesn't happen the next month. So you have $100,000 going out a month in ad spend, and all of a sudden not much of anything coming in. Now you have staff and all these expenses because you expanded, right? I'm a solopreneur. I contract people for my work. What happens? You start scrambling, especially if you didn't take that money and used it as a buffer 4 times like this. You had no strategy. You started just spending it and using it to expand the company. Well, the reason why this happens is that there is a pool of people out there that are perfect for your offer. Absolutely ideal. And when you initially launch, if you're successful enough at your campaigns, you're going to hit them. Either organically, like myself, that takes a lot longer, but the conversion rates are huge because they know you, or cold traffic, that's paid ads. That goes out to people who don't know anything about you, but your offer is so great, and they come over, and you better hope you have something really nice for them because you got to then make sure your reviews look good. Sometimes that's a big factor, but let's say everything's going great. Well, that pool of people, even if it's a big one, it will eventually slow down and possibly come to a screeching halt because you're targeting that specific audience. And once I've seen, you've seen this, right? The same ad over and over and over again. I mean, if I was interested, I was probably going to click the first few times. Now I'm just skipping, and so are all the other people. It just keeps refocusing, retargeting pretty much that same group of targeted avatars. It will absolutely always drop off. That's going to happen. So you're going to have a new ad, maybe some new targets, maybe some new strategies, but most people, again, they don't have that business strategy in place to prepare for that. Now, I have probably about 5 5 friends who were doing millions of dollars, and every single one of them went bankrupt. And it wasn't necessary. So you're probably thinking, wait a second, a small percentage of people online actually make it, and then you're telling me those people, they end up going bankrupt? This is all avoidable, all of it. In fact, that 90% who don't do well, that is totally unavoidable. That statistic could rock if people actually treated it like a real business, owned it, as I teach my students, and they treated it like something completely different that has multiple income streams. We're going to expand. What are we going to do in the future? What happens when we hit a dry spell? How do we accommodate for that? What's my overhead? And all of these things have to be thought out. And by the way, these aren't big decisions. Your eyes aren't going to roll back in your head from overwhelm on trying to create a business strategy. We have AI doing that for and with us. My students learn how to work on that. They have to answer all the questions. What's your pricing? How many sales do you have to make each month to hit those goals? And how are you going to do it? Let's put a strategy in place, because if things aren't working for you online and I look at what you're doing, I can probably tell in 5 minutes why it's not working. And these are real simple answers. So when we take care of the simple answers and then we have the success, you better have somebody surrounding you that knows what they are doing and has been through this. In fact, traditional businesses that we invested in our private equity groups, always hit plateaus, and usually we call it the hockey stick, and then took a dive. The hockey stick, and then usually, where do you go from there? Unless you have a really great plan, you're probably going to take a dive, and a lot of them recover from that because they're ready for that. This is when the 5th pillar, having mentors, counts, because you can go out there and learn how to create a business. And you can learn how to set it up. You can learn with us, with Digital Explorers, creating it yourself, customized. That's really unique. But then what happens when you launch? Most of you have never had anybody hang with you to tell you how to get through that, nor is the training suited for that. The training suited for you to have your business and go out there and maybe have some marketing tactics, but there's nobody working with you to say, hey, what's going on here if you get stuck? That's when you want somebody who's been out there in the trenches like I have. 20 years as an investment banker and about 15 online successfully. And I've had my roller coaster ups and downs, as has everybody that you see out there that's successful. In fact, most of them have had failed companies over and over and over again before they hit it big. They usually don't talk about that, although they're starting to now. So this is the key, is doing it right, getting that plan together, having a strategy, so when things happen, you're prepared for them. Knowing that you're just not going to go spend that money and hire a big staff. You're going to have a strategy that keeps you level so that if you have any dips, you're going to make it through. You're going to go back out there, renew your company, and then you're going to skyrocket off into the sunset with whatever it is your goals are. Most people, they really don't care to be multimillionaires. They just want to have a great life, right? So that's why businesses tank after they skyrocket. 5 friends gone bankrupt, and all of them were millionaires. How does that happen? It's sort of like the lottery. 87% of lottery winners end up broke or bankrupt or divorced. Why is that? We sort of stick to what we're doing over here, and we don't adjust for the changes over here. Don't let that be you. So when you're working with somebody, and they're going to warn you about that and say, you cannot be the person here and be successful over here. I know, I'm scaling my company. So I go to mentors and I say, what do I need to learn and know to be up here and to stay up here and keep growing? That's what I created Digital Explorers for you, is an atmosphere of real entrepreneurship that after we build it, I'm going to be there for you because you actually have lifetime access to the training. I want to make sure you have access to the latest training to go in there and find out what you need to do if you're having any issues, because it's after you launch and achieve some success and beyond that is truly going to be the test for you. And it doesn't have to be traumatic. It could be absolutely very exciting because that's going to happen at some point. I'm ready for it. And you have experienced people assisting you to get to that next level. Hopefully next time I see you, I will have a better microphone on here. In the meantime, if you haven't seen my webinar, the 5 steps to build that business right out of the gate. You can watch that. It's here in the description or email, depending on where you're seeing that. And then if you're in my list, you're going to get all kinds of great tips. And if you decide to come over to digitalexplorers.net, guess what? I have something coming out. It's called a Fast Track. It's a mini version of the Digital Explorers. I'm going to have a special offer. It's going to be affordable pretty much for anybody, that at least will get you going if that's what you really need and you can't commit to the big program. Come on over. I'm creating something that you'll have access to. So stay tuned for that. That's coming out soon. You might already have seen it by now. Thanks for listening, and know that it is worth it. What's the alternative? Going into something you hate, stressing out? Don't do it. It's not worth it. You only live once. Well, at least here in this body. I'll see you in the next video.